Hi everyone, just before we get into another episode of What a Load of Bulls, we just want to give a shout out to our partners, Newcastle Car and Truck Rental. Newcastle Car and Truck Rental are a locally owned company servicing Newcastle and the Hunter. Todd Holden and family pride themselves on being part of the local community, and you feel that when you step through their doors. It isn't a different person every time you call, it's the same people taking care of business and taking care of you. So next time you're in need of a rental, be it a truck to move, a ute for those everyday DIY jobs, or a car to get the family around on a day out, be sure to contact the team at Newcastle Car and Truck Rental by visiting www.newcastlerental.com or by calling 02 49 081 081. And don't forget to tell them DJ and Simon sent you. Hello everyone, welcome to the What a Load of Bulls podcast, bringing you episode 48, mate. With me this week, very special player. This player made it to the last 16 of the men's champion singles in New South Wales. Simon Little, welcome back, Simon. How are you?
Thanks very much, DJ. First of all, apologies for the sounding. My voice is horrendous for a podcast, but feeling a bit under the weather. But look, the show must go on. We still record. Let's crack on. There's plenty of news this week, plenty to catch up on. There's been lots of bulls happening. As you say, I've been in the Champion of Champions. We've had the finish of Platinum Pennants. Aussie Open's kicking off. Heaps of happening. Bulls is in the news at the moment.
Sure is, man, especially on a Bulls podcast. Yes, the two of us have been a bit under the weather this week, man, haven't we? I've managed to be out of work for a week. I'm going to go back tomorrow and I'm doing a podcast. Yeah, it's been a bit rough, man. Old runny nose, sore throat, hardly being able to get out of bed. It seems to be doing the rounds, and unfortunately, I got it. Be a Champion of Champions.
Yeah.
So we talked about it last time. You were, for want of a better word, extremely confident with your section, with the way the draw went. You did say it was all in your favour because you got to watch the players first up. It worked out that way. 2 wins.
Yeah.
Put you through to the knockout stages.
Yep.
What happened from there?
I managed to win that first. I think I got a bye in the first knockout round. So that was
a good way to win.
Yeah, it was a good way to win. And then the next round, managed to be victorious there. I was leading pretty comfortably. Got pegged back a bit. Got put under the pump, really. Really tricky conditions at Mount Lewis. I hadn't played there. And greens were lightning quick and the wind was just swirling. So definitely made...
Always makes for a fun game, that, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. So, like, you get a bowl within 3 feet of it, and you were cheering, really. I had young Brendan Stokes and Jack McShane playing next door to me, and 2 quality young bowlers, and their heads were like a helicopter head, as we would say, and definitely did not. Greens didn't help anyone. So it was a mental battle that game to not get frustrated that you weren't getting bowls really close or as close as what you'd expect. Luckily, I came through in that and, made it through to the next stage at Marylands the next morning to play young Jack McShane, who got over young Brendan Stokes in the game before. Yeah, that was a cold, wet morning. I think it had rained all night and, it was a bit of a damp surface at Marylands, which I thought would suit me. Probably more than Jack, coming from the good old days.
Mud runner?
As a mud runner, back in Ireland. Sadly, it didn't. And unfortunately, got put out by the eventual winner, Jack McShane.
Very good. Just to let people know that his name is actually Jack McShane, because every time Simon refers to him, it's young Jack McShane. Young is not his first name. He's just a young fella. Made any disheartenment going out of that stage to just a young pretender or a young up-and-comer? Like, you're more of an established player.
You just sound a bit older. A few more greys and not as much hair.
Yeah, man, he's only 19 and he's only coming up through the ranks. I mean, how'd you lose that one? Yeah. What did you win? A world championship a couple of weeks before, won Platinum Pennant, which we'll get into the week before that.
Yeah.
So, Jack got over you 25-15 down to the quarterfinals. He then had a pretty good win there, 25-12 against Andrew Weaver. Looking on to the semi-finals then, he had Darren Morrison 25-19, which then lined Jack up in the final against Dave Govan from Beresfield. Shout out to Dave. He is just a relentless winner of that competition in Newcastle. I don't know how many times he's won the champion singles.
Yeah, really.
in the Newcastle area. He's always thereabouts, but wasn't to be for Gov on that day. 25-15, Jack McShane ran out winner in that. And in the women's, mate, bit of history there for two things, really. One, young Annabelle Teague from West Dubbo. Was she 14, 15 years of age, making it to the women's final?
Yep.
She beat Sarah Boddington 25-17 in the semi as well. Now, Sarah is from up Foster Tuncurry way. She's an unbelievable singles player. She's always in the later stages.
Yep.
So for young Annabelle from West Dubbo to come out there and do that, she then ran up against Natalie Lewis in the final. Natalie was too good for Annabelle. Just the experience just paid there. Natalie got out winner there. So it was a Maryland's double, winning the men's and the women's, but also then Natalie has won it after Sam won it 2 years ago. So the twins have now won that event as well. So, yeah, so well done to all them. Bit of history, like I said. Maryland's winning the two of them, and then Natalie backing up from what Sam did a couple of years ago as well, and young Annabelle making it all the way through there at the age of 14, 15. So, bright future for Annabelle, no doubt. So, well done to them. Moving on then, mate, we will go into Platinum because we've got a bit to talk about with Platinum, don't we?
We do.
It concluded the week before that. Both of us heavily involved in the finals. Yeah. Well, sorry, you were heavily involved for one game. I got 5 out of the last 6.
Yeah, I know. It's like,
but mate, it was
when we do a podcast, it's nice that you're so far away, but to rock up to Cabramatta and actually see your face sitting at the end of the green, yeah, I was a bit disappointed. But anyway, I went over and said hello, and you said hello, and yeah, we got
scared the life out of you. Didn't know why you jumped over the game behind you. It was good. One of your skips was happy to see me and give me a cuddle.
So your commentary went down pretty well.
Yeah, mate. Plenty of positive comments. I think two guys from Bowls, New South Wales said at the end they were pretty surprised. But yeah, me and Jason haven't had a massive amount to do with each other. Me and Jason, but we get on pretty well. I have to say, mate, just the experience of the podcast over the last 12 months, I think really, really helped me. Getting used to talking on a microphone and getting used to carrying the guy that's with you. So it was good practice, for the last 12 months. I was able to do that with Jason over the course of I was only meant to do the Thursday, Friday, and then Muggsy here drove back home Saturday morning, got home in Maitland at 9 o'clock, laid out on the bed for half an hour, quick shower, down to the club, pennant party, 5 flags unfurled. 1:15, the text comes from Billy Johnson. Any chance of making it back down for the grand final? So, like I said, Muggsy here, jumped back in the car, 6-hour round trip, just to do the grand final. So, it was a really good experience. Like I said, getting those positive comments, which you're not used to seeing on commentary for bowls, was definitely a motivator to go back. But the big thing was, mate, and I have to give him a rap. Billy, we know Billy's passion for the game. He plays at a high level. He was playing in the event with Belrose there. The team around as well, Andrew Lynn, we know has always done things, but young Kira O'Shea, mate. I met Kira 12 months ago when she'd only really just started out. She was at the number 1 pennant finals, and I was introduced to her because she's from our island anyway. Not exactly the good part, but she's from our island. Yeah. And so I just got introduced to her. Mate, she didn't even... I remember her asking me, "Oh, did you play back at home?" I says, "Yeah, I did." "But did we play bowls back at home?" She'd never even seen it.
Right? Yeah, right. Yeah.
Come fast forward 12 months, what she was running around doing, mate, she knew all the players. She knew what shots were coming. She was able to tell her production team on the camera what was happening and what to do next and who to focus on and stuff. Had me and Jason right up with all the information and what we needed to say, what we couldn't say. Mate, she was absolutely brilliant. She's an absolute star. I think the association need to do everything they can to keep hold of her. It's I don't know how much you've had to do with Kira. I mean, it was really impressive. But just her and Billy on the Friday as well, after Belrose were done on the Thursday night, to sit with them on the Friday at 1 o'clock, or just before the first game at 1 o'clock, and going through things and, what do we think is going to happen, what could happen, blah, blah, blah. It just really just got me going again and going, you know what? They're that into this. They've enjoyed what I've done. I'm going to come down and help them out again in the grand final. So it was good to do, mate. So I was really, really enjoyed it. Something different. And hopefully get another go at it next year.
Nice. Well, yeah, it was good to see all that, as you say, positive feedback that is lacking a lot of times in bowls. And yeah, it was really good to see that people enjoyed commentary and Jason as well. So yeah, hopefully you guys can do a bit more next year and keep a good product going. And that's what really helps as well, is a good product and what people are sitting watching it and they want to. And I do believe you got a few text messages from a few bowlers that actually were watching in. And
Name drop. Shout out to Wayne Turley. That made my weekend. That one just texted me to say he was actually watching. So he was, because of how good the commentary was going. That was good to hear. Ryan Besser got in touch. Lee Sotch, hadn't heard from Lee in a while. It was really good. There was a hashtag trending to me. Did you see that?
No,
because of all the positivity. It was hashtag the DJ Dilworth effect. 2,800 people all watching the live stream. Unbelievable, mate. Anyway, that's enough massaging my ego. We're going to get into round 11. So we talked about it last podcast. Shaping up really, really well. There's only a couple of games that didn't really matter. And in the end, you could tell that because I called down to the bottom green during the second session, the carpet down at Cabra, and there was a lot less tension down there, let's say, as opposed to your game and the other game that we were live streaming. There's more of a party atmosphere down there. There's a few more stubbies and a lot of empty ones around there too. So, but no, I mean, what a finish they had. I mean, like we said, there were 6 teams in with a chance of making it. It all hinged on the first couple of games, which was Cabramatta, Marylands. So Marylands had Cabramatta at Cabramatta. Marylands had the minor premiership already sewn up. Cabramatta were sitting in 5th place. So chance after last year of winning it, of not making finals at their home venue. Engadine were playing Mount Lewis. Now, Mount Lewis still had something to play for, trying to avoid relegation, but if Engadine knew if they could get a win and the more points they got, give them a chance to make a top 5.
Yeah. So
they got their 10-0.
They did, yep.
Cabramatta trailed by about 15 at one point on Marylands and got back to win that one, which all of a sudden made it gave you guys a bit of life because you could have jumped Mount Lewis, but you still relied on Belrose getting beat.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. But then it also meant that the Warrilla and East Maitland game, who went into the weekend 2nd and 3rd, the loser of that could go home.
Yeah, it became a bit of a knockout, really, didn't it?
And it did, mate. And it was a good game to watch. Warrilla got the best with all 10 points in the end. So just unfortunately for the Griffins, fell at the final hurdle. Just a stretch too far for them. It was interesting. I mean, like even the conclusion of the game was very interesting too, because you knew like points mattered. So 8-2 either way would get both of them in. So you could see Ali and Shannon talking a lot in the last 5-6 ends. How's it looking over there? How's it looking here? And then because obviously you were using the electronic scoring system on the phones.
Yeah.
Next thing, you had both seconds with their teams around them on the live stream rink, which was Ali against Gaza, looking at the phone, trying to work out, well, what does half a point do?
Yeah.
So that would have leveled them up. So it would have with Engadine, but the shots wasn't there. So it meant that East Maitland had to go chasing the last 2 rinks in the end. That just wasn't to be for them. So Warrilla made it in comfortably, went up to 2nd. You guys lost out to Raymond Terrace, which I think locked them in 3rd. Then you had Cabramatta and Engadine sneaking into the 5th spots. We knew going into it, there was a lot of conjecture around that magic round and it being round 11 because, in theory, there could have been a lot more games that meant nothing. Like, if you put it this way, if you didn't have relegation in it this year, what were you guys playing for against Raymond Terrace? Like, nothing.
Really, yeah.
What was Mount Lewis playing for against Engadine? Nothing. You know? So, they got lucky, I feel. So, I said they got lucky last year with the grand final. So they did the way that finished up. I think round 11 had the chance to be a white elephant, and they got a bit lucky with that too. I'd still look at that for next year as to the schedule, as to whether I think it's a great idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But is round 11 the right time to have it?
Nah, I think, mid-season Magic Round is definitely something, and hearing some rumours or whispers around the players and that seems to be the way the players are thinking, that they'd love to see it mid-season, like a Magic Round mid-season somewhere, and hold it somewhere that's got four grass greens, and we can have all the teams there playing, in one day, one time even,
Yeah. So here's your issue with the 4 grass greens, but Simon, what if it rains that weekend? A website the whole weekend.
True that. You can't rely on the weather. So
that's what you gotta look. That's what you look. Yeah, no, you can't. That's what you gotta look at as well, because that's where a lot of them are. Like, preferably you want to finish everything on the grass. You look at what's going on with some of the teams that are there and in it. So anyway, that's set up for a good final series. You guys obviously went out. Mount Lewis went out. They're gone for next year. 2 new teams will be included. We'll talk about that after, because that has been announced. How was the feel after the game, mate? Did you have much of a chat after the game, or?
Nah, not really. I think obviously disappointing end of the season. Obviously not what we wanted to start out with and end up getting relegated. But look, we tried our best on that game against Raymond Terrace, and other results did go our way to kind of make that miracle happen, but we just didn't win. So really story of the season and not finding wins and producing performances over a full 63N kind of performance. So yeah, look, it's going to be a rebuilding phase for Tarrant Point, and next year looking to bounce back and have a stronger team to come back and stay up there next time.
Any talk of anyone going or anything yet, mate, or is it all just hush-hush? It's silly season now. Still got state Pennants to go, but it's already been silly season. Everyone committed to the cause, you reckon?
Yeah, I haven't heard too much at the moment, but I guess I've heard of other players of other teams, making moves and things like that.
Yeah.
Nothing in the grip.
We're in plenty of that, aren't we? It's like I said, it's silly season. Especially with the two new teams coming in too, like they're going to have to recruit hard. But yeah, so on to the finals, like we said. Engadine against Cabramatta, 1 o'clock on the Friday. Loser goes home, winner moves on. And then you had Warilla against Raymond Terrace. What happened there? Winner went on to play Marylands for a chance in the grand final, which ended up being Warilla. And the loser played the winner of the other game, which ended up being Cabramatta pretty convincingly. So that left us then with Engadine went home after the first round of the finals. That left us with Marylands versus Warilla for, like we said, chance of the grand final. And we had Raymond Terrace and Cabramatta with the loser going out. Cabramatta got the better there. Marylands looking to bounce back after their only defeat of the season in round 11 against Cabramatta. They then went down against Warilla, so they lost 2 games in a row. Both games, they led. Not massive in terms of these games, about 10 or 12 shots, even 15 shots at one point, they led and got run down both times. So they've gone from minor premiers on the brink of a really majestic season to go on the hard way to even get to the grand final. So because they lost round 11 and then lost that game, it meant they then had to play Cabramatta again, who'd already beat them, for a chance to go to the grand final after Cabramatta got the better of Raymond Terrace. So I missed that game because that was a game that I went home for. Listened to a bit of it on the way down, but it ended up being really convincing to Marylands. Whatever they did, I don't know if they had much of a chat together or whether it was just individual or even just rinks, just got together and had a chat with what they were doing, but they came out and absolutely blitzed Cabramatta, made themselves into the final against last year's finalists and runners-up Warilla, who had just knocked them off the night before. So here we are in the grand final. We raved about last year's grand final. Here we are into this year's one. And probably have to say a little bit anticlimactic because it was quite one-sided the whole way through, albeit it went right down to the last couple of bowls, which was good. You didn't want it to be blown out after 55 ends of a 63-end contest. So it did go right down to the last ends. They had to make something spectacular to try and make it through. But unfortunately for Warilla, it was 2 years, 2 runners-up. And Marylands were able to bounce back from what happened the 2 previous days, rally together and get 2 wins on the final day to make themselves minor premiers and major premiers. So they were so fantastic achievement for the Marylands club, especially then with the next week winning champions for both Jack and Natalie. Yeah, like I said, it was tough. Like it was a bit, I wouldn't say it was disappointing. I was happy to get back and finish what me and Jason had started in terms of the commentary. But it would have been nice to be a bit more of a battle in the game. Like it ebbed and flowed a bit in the middle, but Marylands had already opened up a really big lead, and you could tell just, especially on one rink, the front ends were just getting belted. So they were, and like it doesn't matter who's coming behind you. If you're up against a class act on the front end and class act come behind them and they're all just doing their jobs, your back's against the wall and you're not gonna get too far.
No, well that's it. Like as soon as your front ends are winning up front, it's really hard, and your back end players are playing good shots to make one, and they should be playing really good shots to turn heads and make 2s, 3s, 4s. Like that's what you win games. So yeah, if you don't have it up front and you don't have balls in the head, you can't make multiples. So Marylands come across victorious there. That, as you say, it was a great couple of weeks for the Marylands club. And there was plenty of people around the champion and champions. There was plenty of supporters there, and there was definitely a good vibe going around the club, and there was a bit of a buzz. So congrats to them, and their successes the last couple of weeks.
That was another downside to the grand final, to be honest. Yeah, I had Cabramatta there the day before, or a couple of days before, when they played Maryland, knowing that do or die could go out if they don't win. Green was packed both sides, cheering and carrying on, and it was just great to hear the crowd getting into it. And Cabramatta were playing well. I got to say, Jamie Lee Worsnop leading up on the TV rink was fantastic. Disco was unbelievable. If it wasn't for Mason Lewis, I think that rink could have run away. Mason Lewis he's just such a quiet achiever at times, I find, Mason.
Yeah,
I don't know if he gets the raps he deserves. I think everyone knows how good he is, but I don't know if he gets the raps he maybe deserves a bit more. But like, he was skipping ahead of Cody Parker. Like, they've made the decision to put Mason up. He's renowned for being a lead, especially at state level, being a very, very good singles player. But he was given the rope ahead of Cody Parker, who's in current Jackaroo and everything. You know, that said a lot to me of what Maryland think of him. You had Nathan Rice, former world champion, playing third on another rink, and Sean Thompson, who skipped for Maryland for years as well. You know, and Mason was given the rink. So obviously everyone knows how good he is. Maybe I'm watching him that day, just thinking, gee, but he's good. Like, he just doesn't seem to get the raps he deserves. And then same in the final too. Just watching him. And then the next live stream game we had was, the Maryland's Warilla one was very good. That was the third one that we did. That was Aaron Sheriff against Corey Wedlock.
Yeah.
And Aaron's rink was absolutely giving it to Corey. Like, the front ends were just killing him again. And then Corey got a sniff one end. He's put the jack in the ditch for 5. Aaron's then drawn to the lip and hit it to get third, which is the best he could do, because Corey put it in the ditch. He had 2 balls sitting on top of it. And Corey just got on the mat, swung around it, sat that out for 6, and all of a sudden changed the game. 2 ends later, got another 6.
What?
And all of a sudden they're running off with it there, and Maryland's just didn't know what to do from that. It was a bit of a culture shock for them. I think sort of still maybe reeling a little bit from the loss against Cabramatta, which was a bit of a shock for them too, after going 10 from 10. But yeah, the final, mate, just, you know, I was looking forward to it, especially after what happened the year before. We didn't get that big grandstand finish that we did the year before, and the atmosphere just was not there because, one, it being outside at that time, it was cold. There wasn't many people there. Like, they looked like they tried to sell some corporate boxes down one side of the green. I don't think they got any, or they only got a couple. You know, there wasn't many there. But at the same time, why would you come out and watch it in the cold when you could sit at home and listen to me doing the comedy with Jason? Like, I mean, that's where you'd rather be. You know, I understand that. So maybe that's a downside. You know, maybe it's a downside of me and Jason do it. Yeah, that's one thing I think was a little bit disappointing me. It would have been nice to see a few more there. I know, too, some of the teams, especially the ones that travelled, although they went out after round 11, they were booked in for the weekend, but you didn't see them at the club even watching the conclusions of the game or the conclusion of the competition. I thought that was a bit disappointing. It'd be good to have some sort of a setup where when the grand finals are on, all 12 clubs are there, seeing out the competition. You know, I know it's hard when you're not involved in it, but you've all been in that together. It'd just be good to see everyone there. Imagine the atmosphere if you had all the clubs there.
Yeah.
All the spectators there. So we got to look at something around that. I got to look at something around the scheduling. Obviously, I had another positive influence, mate, because as we mentioned on our podcast a little while ago when we blew up about the scheduling, and we said we would take credit if it got moved, I sent a little email this week. Did you see it?
Yeah, I have seen it.
Platinum Pennant got moved.
It did.
So no one's telling me that they ain't listening to this thing. Oh, yeah, it got moved. So 27th of Feb is the opening weekend, and the 11th of April, I think, finishes it next year.
Yeah.
So common sense prevailed. So it will be finishing a little bit warmer weather too.
Yeah, warmer weather, and hopefully, you know, that's the sort of spectators and stuff that there'll be a few more watching, and that time of year will be better for maybe some later games as well. You know, it won't be as dark and as cold, so hopefully get a few more people out watching.
Yeah. Like, I suppose the cold affects it, but I just think at times if you're dialed into the competition, you're not really feeling it much. Like, did you really feel the cold that much that night you were playing?
Nah, not really as a player. I guess being used to playing at nights and over the years. Nah, not as a player, but certainly, you know, as a spectator, like, it was definitely noticeable with some of our spectators. You know, they were wrapped up with 2-3 hoodies and blankets and stuff to sit and watch the games. Let's see what happens next year in the warmer months, and hopefully we get a few more people out watching at the venues.
So, Tarrant Point, Mount Lewis, you won't be taking part in the 3rd edition.
No, we won't, no.
Who will be? Charlestown Tigers, who won the Newcastle competition this year, and the Soldiers Point Dolphins, who ran 5th in Newcastle this year.
So what happened to the other teams that run above them?
Crickets, Simon, crickets. I don't know, mate. There was a process where everyone put expressions of interest in. There was a process where everyone put expressions of interest in. Bulls and the Wheels got together, looked at them all, looked at all the criteria. I'm assuming it's not just on results from this year, but it's based on facilities, what they can offer, logistics, ability to recruit, and they've deemed that Charlestown, who, like I said, won the Newcastle Pennant this year, and Soldiers Point, who ran 5th in the Newcastle Pennant this year, are the best 2 teams to go into the competition. So how does it feel, mate, being probably the second best team in your region, and you're out, and the 5th best team in another region is going in?
Yeah, it's definitely one to think about, that you've got a team that finished 5th coming into the top league in the state. But maybe they're going to recruit pretty well and going to have a red hot gun side that's going to take on all the rest of the teams in Platinum Pennants. So let's see what transpires over the coming months. And, obviously those two clubs will try and build their teams and try and establish a team that will keep them in that league. And look, I think it's going to be a tough ask for those 2 clubs coming in to the tournament fresh, not really knowing, sort of playing against the other sides, and they're going to need some experienced players in there that have been around the traps for a long time and can handle the big moments and the big games and get their team over the line. So it'll be interesting to see how they recruit, what players are going to maybe go towards their clubs as club players, not just marquees, because obviously when you get 2 marquees, you're going to need some good club players there as well to make up a solid 12. And I think that's maybe the difference between the sort of top sides, your Marylands, Cabramatta. They've got really good club players. It's not just about the 2 marquees, because I think 2 marquees just don't get you over the line. You really need the rest of that team to be a solid outfit and quality players. So look, it'll be interesting to see what they come up with and what those 2 clubs will bring to the table.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they try to get anything out of Tarrant Point. Would you go for a team that came last? Don't know. Nothing, mate. You're not giving me anything tonight?
Nothing.
Yeah, well, like I said, 5th best team at Newcastle, mate. They must have somebody in the know somewhere.
They must do, yeah. They say, it's not what you know, it's who you know.
They got that right. I mean, at the same time, too, like results, if they did look at results over the last couple of years, they were runner-up at state number 1 a couple of years ago before Platinum came in. So they were. They've always been a top side in Newcastle. Like I said, I'm joking about them running 5th out of 6 sides this year, but if you looked at their results, there was 4 or 5 games at least they lost by 5 shots or less. That's how close it was.
Yeah,
a couple of 8-2 defeats and stuff. So yeah, a couple of players for them. They'll get it over the line. They've got a good roster. I'm sure there's a few other clubs that have put in and looked at that and think they're disappointed. I'm not shocked. I think me and you talked about it a couple of weeks ago, and I said that'll be one of the teams that has to be in with a chance of going into it. They were one of the original teams that put in before pulling out, like a couple of others with the logistics of it all. But it's good to see a bit of a change, man. It'll be interesting to see how they go. Interesting to see how the other teams fare with them being in it. What's that make now? 1 Wollongong team, 4 Newcastle teams, and 7 Sydney teams. Yeah, so interested setup for Platinum Pennant next year, mate. And we'll both be watching from the sidelines.
We will. Yep.
I'll double back, mate.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to do this, but so we're sitting in the club after the game, just sort of congratulating me and Jason on how well we dragged the competition through with our commentary.
Yeah.
But one of the guys put the question to the table. I'll ask you this. I answered it. Right up. You've got the chance to make one change to Platinum next year to try and make an improvement for it. What would it be?
Yeah.
So while you think, I'll tell you what mine was.
I've got one right
away. That was good. Well, mine was to add an extra 2 marquees, but they have to be New South Wales based.
Okay.
So we've got some quality talent around the state.
Yeah.
That tend to, at times, get snapped up, dragged down to the big lights of Sydney. sometimes could go by the wayside, not really equipped to be in a move away from home as such just yet. This gives you the chance to allow them to stay at their own club. And people were saying, oh, yeah, but then they're, you're stealing them away from regional championships. I says, no, the stipulation would be that is their number one club. So let's use Peter Taylor, who played in the competition this year. Peter Taylor's number one club will be Ulstonville. He'll play all his pairs, triples, whatever he wants out of Ulstonville. He'll play. Potentially, he's allowed to still play Pennants if it's at a different time of year for Ulstonville. Yeah. But he can go down a marquee for Raymond Terrace again. But Raymond Terrace could add 2 from Queensland or Victoria or whatever they want to do, plus another New South Welshman, say Johnny Green at Carmel, for sake of argument. Someone wants to grab Johnny and throw him in, but he doesn't want to leave Carmel. He only wants to play the Platinum. So you get more players into the competition and potentially strengthen as well.
That would be a way to strengthen. I can see that, like that's a way of strengthening the depth of the players that are in it. I just think, would that then be swayed towards the clubs that have the biggest checkbook still?
Well, that came on to my second one, which I'm happy to discuss with you too, because I think I talked about it previously on the other one of the podcasts last year. I've talked that much rubbish on this thing, I can't remember it all. I'm adamant to talk about this. So, Wolseley South Wales put the competition on, so it's their product. Okay, but they're relying on the clubs to dish out the product.
Yeah.
Spend the money on the marquees, getting them all in, blah, blah, blah. So my other one was that you send an expression of interest letter to every player that is picked in any state side, plus anyone else you deem eligible to be at that level. This is from Wolseley South Wales in the office. Dates of play, blah, blah, blah. They send back, I can play all of, some of, none of, right? That information then gets sent out to the clubs going, here's our marquees that we have recruited. They're available for this, and this. And then at the season launch, everyone's given a cap of, round figure for now, 50K. Buddy. Doesn't matter who it is, what club it is. 50K is the max you can spend on any of these marquees. You can pick 2 up in the auction, right?
Okay.
So you have that auction, and then it gives Charlestown, who are coming into the competition next year, a chance to pick up on a marquee that maybe has been with another club for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Because at the minute, like the battle that Charlestown and Soldiers are going to have is some marquees have already been with these guys for 2 years. They're not necessarily going to turn their back on them. So one, you have to turn their head with a bit more coin, or you're relying on maybe having a previous relationship there.
Yeah.
This way it just levels the playing field, and people turn around and go, well, if then Marylands want Omar back, and Omar's going to cost them 30, 40K, and they're willing to pay that to Omar, then they've only got 10K to spend on another marquee.
Yeah.
So it sort of levels it out. So that was option number 2, to bring the new teams back up onto a level playing field.
Yeah, I can see that would make something actually another element to the competition in terms of prior to the event starting, and another sort of spectator event that it's like an auction off players, or you've got, that draft of players. And I've seen that in other competitions, like the UBC do something similar to that. And it may be that they go down that route. Yeah. And that could be something that adds another element.
Something different. So anyway, same question to you, mate. What have you got?
My first thought was probably straight away was more from the game side of things, that I would do away with jack rolls. I want to make the game a lot quicker in terms of the product that's there and shown. That was my first thought, was just, let's do away with jack rolls. Place a jack, short, medium, long, whatever it may be, and place the mat short, medium, long. So you've got those options of winning, and no jack rolls. Let's get straight into it. Next hand, boom, boom, boom. Let's create something a bit shorter to try and entice, a different viewer aspect, or quicken the game up a bit. That was my first instinct.
Yeah, not bad. It's worked for the BPL, hasn't it? So yeah, not a bad idea, mate. Not a bad. You got anything else off the top of your head? Haven't been a player in it for a couple of years.
I'm probably maybe just that the Magic round can be run, as I said earlier, probably mid-season kind of thing, even at the start of the season. Let's get all the teams together at one venue, try and create a bit of an atmosphere at a venue. Try and get those spectator numbers up and people watching, other bowlers coming to watch. Let's hold it at the right time. From a playing point of view, one of the things that I have sort of heard from other players is that playing 3 games in a weekend is a lot to ask in terms of playing, especially with travel involved. And you've got another extra 2 teams next year that are up in sort of Newcastle area, the northern area. So teams are going to have to travel a bit more now that we have teams up that way, an extra 2 teams up that way. So whether it be them come down to Sydney teams up that way, that was something that I've heard around the greens this last few weeks in terms of playing Friday night, Saturday mornings, Sunday mornings, including travel in there. And I definitely, from a playing point of view, I definitely felt that this year in terms of playing on a Friday night and then up traveling. Even if we go and play from Tarrant Point, a game out 20 leagues, it takes us over an hour to travel to that game. So, you want to be there an hour before the game and an hour travel, and you might add an extra half hour of, getting a coffee or something on the way. So all of a sudden, for a game starting at 10 o'clock, you got to leave pretty early at 7:30, 8 in the morning, and that's a Sydney team going to a Sydney team. So imagine going north-south as well. So I think that's something that maybe having more Magic rounds might come in, that we have multiple venues where teams come together, and it's not necessarily home and away, but let's just have a venue that we get 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams there for a round, and we all play maybe morning, afternoon games, something like that, and double headers in one day maybe, rather than spread out Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Something that's maybe a bit more viable now that you do have the 4 sides up this way, but because you could potentially come up and play 2, maybe even 3 of them. The club that's probably affected the most actually will Rilla, like with those 2 new inclusions. But, mate, if you want to play in the competition, you got to do it, I suppose. Like, what other, I don't know too many other ways around it. Like you said, an extra Magic round. I just want to go back to that one, mate. I threw this out at the time and they said it's hard to do, but what's your thoughts on, as a promotion for the event, the Magic round gets held in a neutral venue? Let's say we take it out to double.
Yeah, well, that's something that I've heard a few of the players say.
Let's say you go to Ballina. Let's take it somewhere else and actually have, because the reason I said it was, you're playing 11 rounds, which is a 6-5 split for home and away. So half the teams are going to play 5 at home and 6 away, and the others are only going to play 6 and 5, or 6 at home and 5 away. So for the first 2 years, that was fine because your draw just got reversed. What happens now with the promotion relegation? If you have that Magic round at a neutral venue middle of the season or early in the season, it gives you a 5-5 home split, and it's just pure luck of the draw who you play in that neutral venue.
Yeah, definitely. That's a real good point that I would try and stress, that we try and, if we can get that happening, that would be brilliant. If we could get it on neutral venues, you say, let's promote the product elsewhere, not just in the Sydney clubs or the Newcastle clubs. It's just like, let's push it around the state and create a bit of atmosphere around the Platinum Pennant League, and getting, you say regional country clubs that we could go to, and they get to see, Aaron Sheriff play and Aaron Wilson play and all the best bowlers in the state, without having to travel 4, 5, 6 hours to Sydney to see a game of bowls, which people won't do.
Some people do, just to do commentary.
Silly.
So they do. Yeah, silly. Thanks, man. I just love the game, Simon. Just got passion for the game. So, well, mate, we could rabbit on about that all night. So I think we'll let that go. It's a couple of different ideas. Look, I think it was a successful game, mate, in terms of the product. I know, like we said, if you isolate just the final itself wasn't as good as last year, but my goodness, man, how do you live up to last year's one is another question. Like, it was just phenomenal, but the greens were good. They allowed for good play, and you can see that in the live stream. There were some fantastic games played, mate, so all credit to them. So moving on, buddy, we did have our rival state north of us, Queensland, playing their state championships over the last couple of podcasts as well. You got in touch with any of the results, mate, or do you want me to crack on?
You crack on with the results. I do believe you have them in front of you. So let's, how did it hand up there in north of the border?
Have you heard of a young fella called Jeremy Henry?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he's finding it a bit easy up there in Queensland. We talked about it during the Queensland Premier League, but he's only gone and won the mixed pairs with none other than Maria Rigby, an absolute legend. He's come back and won the triples with Kurt Brown and Jeff Harrison. Well done to the Kawana Thunder, who won the women's triples as well, which was Debbie Dallaston, Faye Whitaker, and Lacey Garrick. Moving on to the fours, and well done to Denise Gilbert, Bonnie Atwool, Amanda Havik and Pam Rowe. And also then in the men's, it was your mate Chris Vazans, Brendan Wilson, Ryan Burnett, and Aaron Houston. They won the men's events. Over 60s pairs. In the women's, gold to Nola Costa-Beber and Leanne Gundry. In the men's over 60s, Paul Warren and Roger Manning. In the pairs, that fella Jeremy's back again.
No way.
But yes, mate. Yes, he won the pairs with Jeff Harrison, who he played in the triples with, along with Kurt Brown. And well done also to Wendy Wilson and Emma Spicer, who won the women's. And then on to the blue ribbon event, mate. I messaged Jeremy after the pairs and went, mate, are you serious? And he's just like, yeah, no, I'm done. I can't walk now. You pulled out of the singles. Got to give someone else a bit of a go, so he was. So well done, Caitlin Inch, who's won that a few times now, I think. And Indy Conlon on his first one as well. Last year was all about Kane Nelson. Kane made a few finals, but this year was all about none other than Jeremy Henry, who then a week later went up and won the major pairs at Kiwana as well. So he did. So he's absolutely loving life on the Sunshine Coast.
Absolutely.
So he is, but why wouldn't you? So, mate, as well, just as we get towards the end, so we are in representative season. You had your interregions there recently, and the state selectors have got together for New South Wales and put together a couple of trial teams to get together on the weekend of I think it starts on the 21st of June. Teams are going to go down and play. So, open women's squad, Sarah Boddington, Ellen Fife, Jodie Freund, Anne Johns, Kate Matthews, Samantha Nerona, Erin Swatridge, Jimmy Lee Warsnope, Jessica Tell. New inclusion, well done to Jessica Fisher from Club Milton City. Don Heyman, Natalie Lewis, Kay Moran, Brianna Smith, Kate Walker, and Natasha Van Eldick. Some usual suspects in there, bud. Men's open side, a couple of changes in this one from last year. Jay Bruce is there, David Ferguson, Daniel Hill, Mason Lewis, Jack McShane included. He wasn't in it last year. Lee Schreiner, Peter Taylor, Corey Wedlock, Nick Cahill, Carl Healy, Jack Lewis is in this year as well. Darren Morrison's back in there. He's been in the squad before. Cody Packer, Brett Spur, Ben Twist, Aaron Wilson. Over 40s women's squad. Lisa Burton, Fiona Doyle, Kylie Hardy, Taryn Kerr, Colleen Minahan, Lisa Morgan, Emma Pettit, Tracy Wiblin, Leanne Chinnery, Connie Goddard, Danielle Hutchison, Christy McGarty, Kate Morgan, Ush Muncaster, another one from Club Milton City. You loaned us up there from Taryn Point, mate. Thanks for that one. Shirley Stewart and Katrina Wright. Men's over 40s. Nathan Allen from Single RSL. I know Nathan well done to him, mate. Jared Bates in there. Dawson's got back in. Good to see Nathan Dawson having a run at rep stuff again, mate, after retiring from the stateside a couple of years ago. Craig Donaldson, Scotty Hamilton, Rick Lucy from Cabramatta. Rick won the rookies only about 4 or 5 years ago, mate, so it's good to see Rick escalating up. I think this is what the over 40s was brought in for. Somebody like that who's late to the game but has shown a lot of promise to go and represent their state. That's massive. Andrew Reese, another one from Club Milton City.
Yep.
Sean Thompson, David Axon, your mate, Taryn Point, Matthew Blackburn, Rowan Dennis, Dave Govan, Pete Harry, Ray Pierce, another one from Taryn Point, Craig Roberts, Nathan Wise. Sorry, mate, you missed out again on the over 40s. Senior women, Tanya Chaffee, Carolyn Glenn, Betty Herbertson, Sharon McReynolds, Susan Moore, Ruang Nawatawong, Sharon Renshaw, Vicky Turner, Leanne Chenoweth, Mary Grant, Claire Kelly, Sue Moore, Christine Myers, Marianne Parcell, Leanne Smith, Carl White. The senior men's, Bill Ahoy, Michael Clark, John Green, Paul Jobson, Rick Roper, Brian Suckley, Peter Taylor, Robbie Warren, Mark Alexander, Jeff Gallagher, Tony Hinton, Mal Lyons, Warren Shipley, Michael Taylor, Terry Warder, and Paul Williams. So not bad for all them ones. Oh, under 25s as well, mate. So women, Kate Astley, Chanel Chakuch, Reese Finn Young, Talia Kennedy, East Maitland. Well done, Talia. She's never one to walk past and not say hello, mate. She's a lovely young girl, Talia. Chelsea McKay, Zoe Nichols, Jasmine Smith, Annabelle Teague. Oh, she's listed as Maryland's now, bud. That was Annabelle that made it to the final of the Champions.
Okay.
Maryland's just snapped her up. Brittany Camp, Zoe Davies, Charlotte Heyman, Rebecca Lord. Good to see Rebecca in there, mate. Rebecca's gone through a few health issues in the past, so good to see Rebecca in there. Shakaya Murray, Shelby Powell, Zoe Stewart, and Danielle Thompson. The men's under 25, Jacob Aiken, Josh Carney, Flynn Cooper, Cody Griffin, Matthew Long Swan, Tom Rich, Jordan Thompson, Billy Waite, Tyson Arneman, Joseph Clark, Connor Freeman, Ryan Hansen, Taryn Point, Michael Phillips, Brendan Stokes, Tim Thorning, and Xander Weber from Curry. So well done to all those selected for the trials. And there was all ability selection there recently too, mate. And I know that because well done to Chris Constable, another Maitland City, who has made into the state selections. It's great to see, mate. We've had a great year. It's good to see so many people from our club getting selected. Karen Nelson, Christine Constable, and Gail Schultz, along with James Reynolds, Ray Douglas, and Michael Vassallo, will play at Dandenong in Victoria on the 5th, 6th of August. So well done to all those picked to trial or picked to represent the New South Wales Blues. But they're not the only ones, mate. I'm not going to run through it, but Queensland have named a couple of squads as well, so they're getting ready for the rep season. And I've seen South Australia, they've actually named their team for the Ali Shield.
They have,
They have. So they're not.
Seen that.
Yeah, so they're not naming trials like the others are. They're just right into it, going, this is the team that's going to the Nationals in Tasmania in November. And yeah, this is now they haven't named the rinks or anything, so I'm assuming they're going to play a couple of different test matches and just trial things around. But yeah, all happening, getting ready for the rep stuff later in the year, the Ali Shield and Mars Morris Trophy.
Nice. Well, good luck to all those players and representing the Blues. There'll be some good, strong sides picked there, and it's going to be tough for a few people that probably don't get selected. But look, to be as part of that squad and to get your foot in the door and get your name out there, it's still massive achievement to be up there with some of the best players in the state and be part of that. So congrats to everyone that's been selected on those trial sides, and good luck to those teams that players that finally make it into the final teams.
Good for you, mate. That sounds genuine. No sour grapes at all. I'm making that men's over 40 side, so well done to you, mate. Congratulations.
Excuse me, still under 40. You well know.
Whoops, sorry, man. I shouldn't judge a book by its cover, eh? Well, that's about all, mate, ready to wrap up with. There's a few things coming up. We are in that busy time of year. New South Wales State Pennants is coming up very soon. We're getting prepared. 3 sides going away from Maitland City for that. The Aussie Open is on at the minute.
It is. Kicked off, yep.
I mean, way too much to talk about at this early stage. We'll get that in the next podcast when it gets down to the nitty gritty. Like, I was trying to keep an eye on the men's singles, but like they've just gone through the sectional play and they're now at the round of 512. Just shows you how many are yeah, keeping an eye on that and the women's as well. But yeah, a lot of the big names are still going. Couple of upsets in the pairs.
There has been, yeah.
You'll be happy to know that everyone's favorite Kiwi, he's made it through in both the men's singles and the men's pairs.
It has to be your mate, Ali Forsyth, doesn't it?
No, everyone's favorite Kiwi, Blake Signal.
Okay.
Yeah, no, man, we're done with Ali. You just want to mention Ali every podcast you can. It's unbelievable. But yeah, no, Ali's through as well. So he is, but yeah. So we'll bring you more of the Oz Open as we get down to the nitty gritty. Bit of an insight, man. I had a chat to Omar the other week just to see how he was feeling. And in his words, playing every bit as bad as what it did at this time last year. So if that's anything to go by, mate, put your house on it. Yeah. He is out of the pairs, though. He's one of those ones that dropped out of the pairs. Him and Teasy, they dropped out of the pairs, but they had to play a group with last year's winners, Jack McShane and Joey Clark. So yeah, keep a close eye on that, mate. We'll bring that next time along, and we keep mentioning him. We're going to have to get him on the podcast at some point. Jack McShane, congratulations! He got an award there from Commonwealth Games Australia for emerging talent for the month of May. So well done, Jack, on the back of his World Championship and the World Championship Platinum Pennant. And, of course, the big one, beating Simon Little on the way to the State Champion Singles.
That's what got him over the line, I think, Commonwealth Games.
Yeah, obviously, like, I mean, that's the game that played him into form, Simon. Absolutely. That one against you, definitely. Like, I was struggling prior to that, but just having a battle for a win against you, that's what played him into form.
Yep.
But that's for this week, folks. That's me and Simon from our sick beds, trying to bring you everything you need to know from the What a Load of Bulls podcast. So hope you all enjoyed it. You're enjoying your times on the green. We'll be back again for the next podcast, which will be either next week or the week after. We'll see how we go. But as always, folks, remember, keep that little disc on the inside.
And good luck on those greens. The views, information, or opinions expressed during What a Load of Bulls podcast episodes are solely those of the individuals involved and do not represent those of any group, organisation, or employer associated or affiliated to individuals. This podcast is for general information purposes only, to educate and inform. This podcast does not constitute professional advice or services. What a Load of Bulls does not guarantee the accuracy or reliability of any opinions expressed or statements made within episodes.